I'm Henry from BrainStorm Acres. Today we're going to finally get tomatoes planted out in our straw bale garden. The lavender spikes are starting to bloom. We don't have many bees yet. Hopefully they'll come back around. These bales have been ready for weeks. Unfortunately, the weather didn't cooperate. First it got really warm, and then it started getting cold again. Cold enough that when we were getting ready to go on a business trip, we had to start splitting our tomato starts between the house and the greenhouse. Fortunately, everything survived. Now it's time to plant them out. I wish we could have planted them out 2 or 3 weeks ago when they were really ready. Now, a lot of folks measure using a tape measure or yardstick, something like that. What I do is use a measuring device. Well, a stick, a rod, something. And I mark it where I want plants to go. This is 2 feet from this end to here. That's the spacing I need for the tomatoes. And I have another mark here at 1 foot. That's where I can put a small pepper if I want to. I'm going to plant in 2 different manners. One is I'm going to use a hori-hori to carve out holes that are 6 by 6 by 6. And the other one, I'm just going to push this straw aside and slide the plant down into the straw. We have plenty of tomato plants, so hopefully they'll all survive. I'm going to set up these first 2 bales as an experiment. The first one, I'm just going to cut a slit to put the tomato plants in. The other one, I'm going to dig out the 6 by 6 by 6 inch holes. So, let's get at it. The bale's pretty soft inside. And it should be pretty easy to put the tomato plants down in those holes. That's really composting well. That's a big stick. What I'll be doing with these holes is putting some topsoil in it once I've planted the tomato. And there's our second hole. I'm ready to plant. I'm going to go inside and talk to Irene and see what varieties we have in the numbers and decide which ones we're going to plant where.
Hello.
How are we doing on tomatoes?
Well, I'm counting right now. I have an inventory that I took earlier, back when I was waiting for them to sprout, and then I have a potential inventory that I just took this morning. There's always a chance when you're counting in buckets and stuff that you'll miss something. So I'm trying to line them up and see how closely they align. One of the problems was having to move it as quickly as we did. It was really hard to keep everything labeled and stuff, so I'm hoping that mostly I did it.
The straw coming out of the bales looks really great. It's starting to decompose, so it's composting. Remember, we were a little concerned at first because it didn't seem to be doing anything,
Yeah.
but boy, down inside, it's really softened up and it's definitely composting.
Some of these were things we planned on, and some of these are not things we planned on, and the things that we didn't plan on, some of them are things like green tomatoes and orange tomatoes and stuff, which is something we don't normally grow.
We'll give it a try. We'll at least get a couple of them in.
Yeah, I figured we'd get a couple of them in there at least. The most important things are the granadero and paisanos and stuff like that, which is our sauce and stuff like that. And defiant, which is a good slicing tomato. Black cherry, of course, which is the Swedish tomato. And gardener's delight, which is those really, really good cherry tomatoes. And big beef, which of course is your BLT on steroids.
Well, I have the first 2 bales prepared. I have slits in the first one.
Cool.
And holes in the second one. So we'll go ahead and do the 2 different planting styles we've seen. One of which is what Opie at Brew City Gardener does, which is just cut a slit down or open a slit down, put the tomato down, and then put the straw back around it.
Right.
The other one came out of one of the universities where they cut a 6 by 6 by 6 inch hole in the bale.
So you're using it as a flower pot, basically.
Yeah. So it doesn't necessarily make a whole lot of sense to me to do it, but I'm going to try it.
Well, I don't think we have any pots that are 6 by 6 that have tomatoes in them. So.
Now what we're going to do is go ahead and plant as if this is going into a pot. So I'll put topsoil in the hole and the tomato, and then cover as much of the stem up as I can.
Right. Yeah, because most of these are not too leggy.
We had to stop this morning because the wind came up. We still have a lot of wind going, but I think we can probably get the tomatoes in without them being beaten up too badly. So what I'm going to do is start by putting a tomato in this bale. I'm making a little bit of an opening. Okay, you can slide that down in. Thank you. What we'll do is we'll put some of this straw in around the top, and then we'll water it in.
Okay. So you don't put any extra soil on it or anything?
Not on this one. This one here is, this bale right here is where I'll be putting some of the topsoil.
So one of the universities was the one that came up with the topsoil idea.
That's right. And I'm not sure why they're doing it. I think perhaps it's because
Who's skeptical?
I think the real reason is because what they're trying to do is make up for any composting that's not occurring. So let's try putting the large tomato in this spot right here. Thank you. Ooh. That compost is really nice down at the bottom. Thanks. I'm going to go get some topsoil to put on those 2. Now I have some potting soil here, and I'm just going to top up these 2 holes with the potting soil. I do like the way the potting soil is supporting the tomato plants. Maybe I'll do the same thing over here. Now we'll go ahead and let it run the way it normally does. You know, the outside of this bale is pretty tough, but once you get down inside, it's pretty nice. All right, well, what I want to do now is I'm going to go ahead and water these in, and we can finish out these bales. And of course, this is the tightest bale in the lot. I'm ready for a tomato. Yeah, according to people who have done straw bale gardens before, these tomatoes will root right along the stem, just in the straw. It'll be interesting at the end of the season to see how that turns out. We have 6 tomato plants planted and 3 pepper plants. Unfortunately, the wind picked up again, so we're going to call a halt to finishing the planting today, and we'll try it again tomorrow. Come along with us on straw bale gardening. See you later.